Welcome to the Vortex.
Good afternoon, welcome to the Vortex. Dr. Klare is my name. Today we have a special guest from Australia. His name is Phillip Lindsay, and I welcome you. It's an honor to have you here from so far away.
It's great to be here.
And he is an esoteric astrologer, and he has very special work done for over 20 years in this field, which I must tell you very honest, I didn't ever hear about. I had an imagination if I hear the words, but I didn't know what to think about. Then I looked at your website, so I have a little bit idea, and I was impressed about your work, what you have put out there. Behind me is immediately one of your books, and you have a couple of other ones laying on the table, so I would like to have you introduce yourself. Sure. That would be nice, and tell me about your work, please.
Sure, thanks. Well, Esoteric Astrology is essentially the science of the soul, and Esoteric Astrology looks to see the soul purpose in a horoscope, and whether this is an individual or a nation or a city or a race as a whole. So my astrology encompasses quite a broad spectrum, and my first few books, several of my books are astrologically based. I have an astrological biography, for instance, on a famous character called Mattie. And because so much is known about this particular individual, he provides a good example of all the events in his life that show how his life unfolded and how he met his opportunities and met his challenges and so forth. So this is a good practical application of the tenets and principles of esoteric astrology.
You would say that would be the beginning that you would recommend?
Well, I recommend it mainly to my astrological students. It is accessible, though, I think, to people from all walks of life. It just depends on where they're at, I suppose. But I have another astrological biography in one of my other books called Solar Cycles of the Seven Rays, and this book also is a collection of essays over the last 15 years on all facets of esoteric astrology that I have been practicing and learning about and trying to apply in a practical way. So this is the bottom line, is to try and apply it practically, and so it means something to people, and so they can actually use it and unfold their full potential in the best way, in the most intelligent, conscious way.
I just would like to ask you, how did you get into esoteric astrology? We know astrology very much, so what makes it so different from the casual astrology?
Because it's supposed to be the science of the...
You want to hold it? Yeah, I'm okay.
You want to hold it?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's supposed to be the science of the soul, or the astrology of the soul, as opposed to the astrology of the personality. 99% of astrology that's practiced is the astrology of the personality, its wants and needs, its relative degrees of integration and so forth. And this is a very important aspect of astrology. Quite often it does get relegated to realms of fortune telling and is fatalistic in many ways. Soul-centered astrology seeks to empower an individual by really finding the soul purpose in the chart, the purpose of the incarnation, essentially. And it has various techniques whereby these can be that differ from exoteric or ordinary astrology, and can therefore give a lot more understanding of a chart. As the Tibetan master Dwal Kul, who wrote the book Esoteric Astrology, says, the chart is dependent upon a person's response to the planets, and quite often the person will respond to the lower vibration of a planet or a sign and only express that amount of potential. If a person is sufficiently unfolded further along down the path, then they will start to respond to the higher vibrational frequencies of the planets and the signs, and therefore the chart for them can be read more esoterically. many people live in the houses of the horoscope, so to speak. They live in the areas of life experience as opposed to the quality of life experience. So, but esoteric astrology is primarily the astrology of the 7 rays. And the 7 rays are influences that come into the solar system from extra-systemic sources, and they condition every kingdom in nature, and they condition our souls, our personalities, our mental body, emotional body, and physical body, and so forth. And the study of which by itself constitutes what we call esoteric psychology. And but when practitioners of astrology discover the science of the 7 rays, they realise, oh, this is the missing part of astrology, because they realise how inextricably entwined it is with the planets, the signs, and the so-called rulerships. So that's a very, very brief description of what esoteric astrology is. If anyone wants to go to my website, they can find this introductory essay that I have in my book on my website, and get a fairly good overview as to the differences between personality and esoteric astrology.
Can be there a problem? You're saying 7 rays. When I hear the word rays, then I think about energies. It's all about energy. So then I think about like personality echoing energies from universe. Is that all about how we are a vibrational energy on Earth?
Absolutely. The rays are simply electromagnetic forces, and we are electromagnetic receiving and transmitting stations as human beings with our energy centers and so forth. So, and we are conditioned by these rays differently from lifetime to lifetime, although we maintain our major soul ray. For instance, people who are on the 2nd ray of love wisdom, the indigo blue ray, is the major healing ray and teaching ray. And it's quite possible that you're on the 2nd ray of love wisdom as your soul ray,
I just
as
thought
a healer.
I just thought that because it's exactly how it looked like on the aura photography.
Yes, and you're wearing dark blue too. So, and so all areas of life are covered by the rays. For instance, the ray 4 of harmony through conflict has a lot to do with the arts and music. Whereas the 5th ray of science obviously has to do with science, and the 3rd ray of active intelligence has a lot to do with business and philosophy. Would you believe? There's 2 different things, but there's 2 different types of 3rd ray. So, and likewise, esoteric astrology has been said to be the science of all sciences. It covers the relationship of all living things to one another, whether it's a plant, a human being, a blade of grass. They are all energetic living beings that have a relationship to the greater whole. And so it's a very holistic science in that respect. But it's in its very fledgling years, and will take several hundred years to develop and eventually supersede exoteric astrology, which must walk hand in hand with esoteric astrology for quite a long time to come yet. So one of my favourite areas is the astrology of nations and races. And in this book called Destiny of the Races and Nations, which is about 500 pages, I've got essays on quite a lot of essays on America, actually, on the United States of America, I should say. Britain, New Zealand, Australia, Iraq, Iran, Israel, quite a lot of stuff that has been going on in the last few years in world politics and so forth. And this is pretty much the foundation for my other work called The Hidden History of Humanity, which I'll talk about later. But in this book I do discuss how certain rays rule, and astrological signs rule cities, nations, and so forth, and how those particular entities are evolving just as we are as individual entities. We are parts of those nations and races, and so as we grow and evolve, so does the greater entity